Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Hey, good morning. It's just Jim this morning. If you want to say hello to Michelle Rhodes, you may have to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, or more specifically, maybe Ogden. She's visiting family this week, so it's just me, and I'm broadcasting live from Southeast Tulsa, Oklahoma, where I started the visit here with some crispy fried mushrooms, watched a football game, got to see my Oklahoma State Cowboys beat Arizona State. So that was a good kickoff to the weekend. And then spent a couple days with client Michelle and I did, and then wrapped up yesterday. And she flew on to visit family, and I'm headed back to Florida. But we've got a special guest today. I invited a dealer just last evening after seeing him on Facebook, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, are you back from your 20 group meeting?" And he is, and he's settled back at his dealership, sounds like. And so I'm happy to bring into the conversation this morning Jonathan Jauregui from Fort Worth, Texas. Let me bring you in there, Jonathan. Welcome.
Hey, Jim. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you were able to accept on such short notice. It keeps me from having to talk about buy here, pay here without Michelle and her caramely voice to join us. So I got to tell a quick story on that, Jonathan. When I was when I first met Michelle, and we were, I think, just dating at the time, I introduced her to my business partner on another project unrelated to the car business back in Utah. And my partner said, "Wow, Michelle, you've got a really caramely voice." And so we've been laughing about that ever since. So she does have a nice caramely voice. I think that's the reason people tune into the show, frankly. So.
Well,
But
you know what, Jim? I'm going to try to make my voice like that. See if I
oh,
can
nice.
build
That would be
voice.
good. Yeah, our listeners would probably appreciate that. So I thought, there's plenty for you and I to talk about it on the car business. I wanted to first find out about your 20 group experience. I saw that you were with Bill Elizondo, apparently an NIADA group in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right?
That is correct. We picked such a beautiful place. There's some passage, there's some views out there that you have to see them live, and Wyoming is one of those places. But the best thing about the 20 groups is the time that you get to spend with your peers. That close group of dealers that are there to serve you, and you're there to serve them. And having a great moderator like Bill absolutely makes a difference. It opens up the conversations that are, sometimes not as easy as we may think, and there's a flow of ideas that that just fly, and a lot of us come back and then make immediate changes and see an immediate impact. Some of the times, we take a little bit longer to implement some of those ideas and suffer because of them. But it was one of the best meetings that I've had in our 20 group. So absolutely loved it.
So how long have you been involved in a 20 group period?
Not very long. Beginning of the year, it's
Okay.
when I joined.
Okay.
But the best thing about it is, you go to conferences for many, many years, and there's a lot of good knowledge that you get at the conferences. But when you're in a 20 group, it's that close setting, that behind doors, behind closed doors, the things that we talk about and we're able to open freely about, that really makes a difference.
Right. And I was a member of a 20 group myself as a dealer years ago, and certainly see the benefit, and even kind of guest moderated a couple of meetings over the years. And so I'm quite familiar with it. I see the value, and I definitely think, there are a lot of dealers out there that could stand to benefit from that as you are. But like you say, you talk about the closed group and the privacy and the ability to look at a composite and share numbers pretty freely and have your number stacked up on the page next to other dealers is helpful. And you can ask, "Hey, how's it you turn that inventory so fast?" Right? Or whatever the topic of the day might be.
No, absolutely. And I'm so glad that we close our doors to look at the composite, because sometimes it's not as beautiful as you think it is. Once the data starts going in, it just it reveals things about your dealership that you may think, their strength, but you see the opportunity there. So there's a lot of knowledge. It depends what you do with it, just like anything else. But the cool thing about the 20 groups is it's not just a dealer of your size. It's similar, but there's some that are way more seasoned. There's some that are, maybe a little bit newer than you. So there's a great mix of dealers. And like I said, we can all sit there, but having a good moderator that's able to open the conversation definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I definitely, we want dealers to be aware. I remember a dealer told me years ago that he was moving to a new 20 group because he was tired of being the big fish in the pond. He wanted to go somewhere where he could be the smaller fish and learn from the bigger, well-established dealers. And so I know that can happen as dealers evolve, but I'm glad you're having a good experience over there. I'm sure you'll learn plenty. And I know you've got a lot to share, which is really what I was looking forward to bringing to our audience this morning. You and I have known each other for a time. We met by phone back when I was still living in Utah. And then I think we first met in person at the BHPH United conference, right? Back in April.
That is correct, Jim.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So I remember seeing you in our session out there, and I was able to, tell some of the attendees during the session that I highly recommend that they get to know you and your business in Fort Worth, because it's been my observation watching you and, following you on social media, LinkedIn and other spots, that I really love your marketing approach. And I think, especially, we understand in Fort Worth, Texas, you've got a pretty large population of Spanish speaking folks, and you guys do a real nice job of connecting with, customers who have Spanish as their first language. And so I know some of our listeners would, enjoy hearing kind of how you do that. And before we talk about that part, I really am interested to know, like, where did you learn, some of the tips that you bring to marketing? Like, where did you develop your marketing style?
I think it all depends on the goal. I think as a dealer, the goal is to sell cars, right? We all want to be able to sell cars. The question is, who do you want to sell those cars to? Our goal is, I think it's pretty clear. We want to target the Hispanic market, but within the Hispanic market, I want to be able to target family structures, and even within those family structures, I want to be able to, target first and second generation Hispanics. So there's a lot of market data out there that you can look at and seeing the kind of Hispanics that you have, because not every Hispanic is Mexican, and then
Sure.
There's different variations when it comes to that. So just to give you an example, when I arrived in Wyoming, my Uber guide was a guy from a state in Mexico down south, but we were able to have an instant connection and
Sure.
and have a conversation, and that's something that I would have never imagined up in Wyoming. Hey, there's no
Right.
Hispanics here, nobody comes here, but that was not the case. So we got to talking a little bit about how the Hispanic market has grown, and we talked about some of the things that are going into town, and there's a much bigger Hispanic population. So there's always opportunity. So, but
Right.
coming back to Fort Worth is a well-established market, but there are differences between Dallas and Fort Worth, even then, on the type of Hispanic that we have. Dallas a lot hipper, a lot newer, and things like that. Fort Worth is much more established as a family structure. So for us, it's going to be something that calls to home. We don't want to be as serious, and that's part of the things that you see on that advertisement. I think we're using a mariachi right now. That's helping us, project the message that we want to. But then there's also something that's been very successful, which is, the mini lives that I do. I'll go out there and I'll shoot a vehicle.
Right.
And you guys have been at the lot, Jim. You see that as soon as you walk in, you'll see my wife, you'll see my child. And that's the thing that we project. We want to project a family environment to the Hispanics that visit us.
Yeah, and I think what I see in your case is, this is hard for a lot of dealers and people in other businesses too to understand, is that when Jonathan does that, his live videos and whatever he's doing on marketing, it's not just a show. I mean, it's real. It's genuine. I mean, he's not bringing his family in just for this photo op. I mean, they're actually there. And so I think sometimes this gets lost is kind of the genuine part of the authenticity around that is, when dealers or other business people get out there and, claim a family atmosphere, it's easy to say. A lot of you've heard it all over media. People, claim we're family or whatever. But to say it is one thing and to show it and live it is a different thing. And I know you do it. I mean, and I think the part of the marketing that particularly caught my eye was when you were doing kind of what I would call long form videos, where you were kind of introducing the marketplace to members of your team, kind of in little extended
Yeah.
videos where you were, kind of sharing and introducing your team members to, the community. And I just really enjoyed that particular style. So I'm wondering, did somebody recommend that to you, or is that something you developed yourself?
It's something that I developed myself, and I'll tell you where the idea came from. Yeah.
Sure.
I just remember, when the iPhones were first introduced, they used to do this, side view with the developers of the iPhone, and they talked about the product, and they talked about themselves, and that's basically where that idea came from. But obviously, we needed to do it with the market that I'm targeting, which was the family structure.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of those guys talk about their family background, and all of those things.
Yeah. And George Spat says, "Cue the child in the background." He could hear maybe one of your kids.
See,
I didn't hear
we're not lying. We're living it.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, I know that about you. And so, yeah, I think that's really a nice thing. Like, to me, it really helped to connect. Like when people, watch those videos, you just get a feel for who you're dealing with. You get a better understanding of, who they are, what's important to them, where they come from, all those kind of things. And so that's really important, which if any gets too personal, you can say, Jim, sorry, too personal, but I want to hear a little bit about your background. Like, where did you grow up? Where were you raised?
No, absolutely, Jim. I was actually born and raised in a city called Monterey, which is about 3 hours south of the border.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, my dad's a preacher. Well, he's
Mhm.
retired now, but we came up here for a 3-year project. And that was back in '96. So we're supposed to be back by, 99. 20 plus years later, we're still here.
Mhm.
So we built our, family structure around here, and that's just the way it went. But I think that helps a lot, knowing where the market that I'm targeting is coming from definitely makes a difference.
Mhm.
Because I have that firsthand experience. So, going back to the just for a minute on the interviews that we did or introducing our team, the whole goal with that was to be able to connect, with the people that we're targeting, because their stories are very, very similar. Hey, I left
Yeah.
my family behind. I want to be able to see my family again.
Yeah.
I come here to work and, be able to provide for my family. And I will tell you one thing: it's very, very good. You can connect with the Hispanics, but it's also true for any other market. Your customers want to know who they're dealing with,
Absolutely.
and they want to have that instant connection with you.
Mhm.
Is it always good? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes customers come in and say, "Hey, I know that guy. I want to only talk to you. I only want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to anybody else."
Right.
So you almost sometimes have to deal with that. And obviously within your dealership structure, you have to create that step ladder. When a conflict or an issue arises, you want them to deal with somebody else before it reaches you.
Mhm.
But in the opposite, it's been really, really good, because uh, I've become almost a face to the dealership, and people know, hey, this is who owns it. This is the guy that's backing,
Mhm.
the product that he's selling. So it holds you at a higher standard. And then it also reminds you that you're dealing with an individual when you're selling them a car.
Yeah.
I know the easiest, and I think you guys touched bases on this, Jim, just a couple weeks ago. That do we knowingly sell a car that's going to break down? I don't think any of us wake up in the morning and said, "Hey, like, who am I going to sell a car that's going to break down to the next day, right? But being able to touch on that marketing and put your face out there really even holds you to a higher standard to sell a better product, which in turn gives you better reviews. You're able to get the repeat customer that we all want. So that's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah. So there are a couple things as you talk about that. I think, Michelle and I talk a lot about story branding. We're disciples of some kind of influencers or marketing specialists who are, who talk a lot about story branding. And that's a lot of what I see. And you may not be following the same people. It doesn't sound like you had necessarily the same exact influences, but the same idea to basically go forward to your community and tell them who you are. Like, let them understand the people behind the business. So, obviously in your marketing, I see you showing cars, but I see you for every time that you are out there, in terms of social media or wherever, for every time that I see you talking about cars, I see you talking about yourself or your company or your people. Right. And so I think that's a big thing that people can benefit from, is understanding that, if I'm a consumer in Fort Worth, Texas, or Dubuque, Iowa, and I'm stepping into a 4-year relationship with somebody, I kind of want to know who they are. Right.
That is correct. That is
And
correct.
so I think these are the kind of things that I think can help us. And this really was the theme of our presentation. The folks at BHPH United actually chose the topic when we came out to speak on, sell the program, not the car. And we kind of took it one step further, is, sell the people, like sell who you are. Right. And help people understand, kind of what you're about. And I think, like I say, in our business, it's different if we're selling a car cash and we don't have the same relationship with the customer after delivery. Right. So that's part of what I see, in your case. And so you guys do a really nice job of that.
Thank you, Jim. And you're absolutely right. I mean, as independents, particularly in our size, I may not have 40, 50 cars out there, for customers to come and choose from. So I know that my strength is not going to be perhaps the inventory or the inventory selection. So you go for your strengths, which are your competitive advantage is always going to be and should always be you and your people. And then obviously as a buy here, pay here dealer, you have a little bit more freedom when it comes to the terms, the financing, the pricing, and things of that sort. So that should be, and that's what we made our second focus. Hey, our strength is going to be on first us, because, you want to deal with an individual when you have a problem. And then the second thing is, hey, this is how we do financing. This is the reason you should come and see us. But we always lead with that personal touch.
Very nice. And listen, we can't say anything you had in mind to say bad about Michelle. You can't say she's here now. So she has joined the broadcast. You there, Michelle?
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've been listening and been trying to figure out on Facebook how to say my name on there. And I feel everyone's pain that can't do that. So I thought I would just, invite myself into the broadcast. Yeah.
Well, that's a good learning experience
so I'll
for us
figure
all.
that out. It really
So,
is.
and by the way, for our listeners out there, if you will chime in, I see that most of the names this morning of the people that are commenting at least, but if you're listening in this morning, I'd like to know where you're listening from. So if you don't mind just throwing in the comments there, tell us where you're listening from, what state you're in. I always like to know kind of where folks are hearing us. And so, yeah, if you throw that in there, that'd be good. So, Michelle, you're settled in Utah?
Yep. Everyone in the house is sound asleep. So I snuck out very quietly and sitting in my rental car enjoying the rain.
Oh, nice.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to the story about the 20 groups and your dealership so far, Jonathan. I know I don't want to derail the conversation. So if I am, stop me, please. But I really enjoyed visiting your dealership. And when you talk about it being a family environment, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. I really enjoyed meeting the whole family, or not the whole family, your little one who kept coming in and trying to flirt. He was adorable.
Yeah, I think the listeners got a glimpse of him here just a few minutes ago.
Oh, that was him. Nice.
He was fantastic. but yeah, just and how hospitable everyone was, and we were just swinging through, and really enjoyed meeting everybody, and also where your dealership is located, fantastic. How everything looks, fantastic. Just your messaging, spot on. Really love it.
Yeah,
So that
sure
was.
did. Yeah, it was wonderful to meet you and the family. And Michelle, we've been talking about the kind of the story branding piece of what Jonathan does, and I also want to hear from you, Jonathan, because I think some of our listeners would really benefit from hearing. And maybe it helps for me to tell a quick story. In our travels, Michelle and I, we meet a lot of dealers out there, and it's common for us to have dealers tell us, that we just don't have a lot of Hispanic folks in our community, and we have to tell them, well, they're actually probably here. You're not in the circles where they are. You're not shopping at the same grocery store, and so this is true. I mentioned Dubuque, Iowa, or pick any city out there in middle America. We find that there are customers who would have Spanish as their first language just about everywhere we go. And I don't know how much you travel and see that, Jonathan, but obviously in places like the Metroplex in Texas, you have, a high Hispanic population. But have you also seen that in other places?
Oh, absolutely, Jim.
Yeah.
Even as I mentioned earlier, my Uber guy, he was from a state in Mexico down south, and the guy
Mhm.
has been here, had been here for 20 years plus. So there's a well-established community, and like you mentioned, you just have to look for them. I mean, there's a lot of market data out there. If you want to start, there, you don't have to go to the places like La Michoacana or anything like that to find out if they're there. Uh, a pro tip: if they sell Modelo in your area,
There
you
you
probably
go.
have some.
Nice. That's a
I'm
good
kidding.
pro
I'm
tip.
kidding.
Write it down, people.
But
Modelo.
there's a lot of market data
Mhm.
out there,
Mhm.
and that you can look, and it's all public information, and you can look at the even you can even look at the breakdown of the Hispanics,
Mhm.
because I can tell you a Mexican is buying very differently from a Central American,
Mhm.
a Puerto Rican, South American, or even any other Hispanic. So knowing those differences and knowing who you're marketing to
Right.
can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Uh, but going out there and finding them, even just the internet, you don't have to step out your door. You can get a wealth of information,
Right.
and I think it's a market that we can all agree. Hey, we want to target it. I want to acquire more. How do I do it? Do I need to speak Spanish? Do I need to be able to communicate with them? But that's not always the case. A lot of them have been here, for quite some time.
Yeah.
They're established, maybe second, third generation. With that first generation core value,
Mhm.
that they're fully bilingual, and you're bilingual, and you're able to approach them without any problems.
Mhm. Yeah. No, we see that. And I just might kind of run through with you kind of what we typically share based on my own experience. And I just ask our dealers to contemplate if they really want to reach that consumer. It's really more in my mind than just putting up a sign that says "Se habla español" or whatever. That you really want to be able to demonstrate, I think, to the consumer that you're there, you're committed to supporting them all the way through the process. So that's more than just a day when they're buying a car. That's, one day when they're dealing with a mechanical problem, or, all the support that's required on the collection side and the account management side. I like to ask dealers to make a commitment, show it that you have people on your team that, do speak Spanish, and that's throughout the operation, just not the day they're buying. So your thoughts on that suggestion?
No, absolutely, Jim. And obviously we sell cars, so you have to be able to sell the cars that they're going to buy.
Hmm.
Um, in our area, we did a pretty extensive, study, and the three number one cars that, or the three top cars that Hispanics will buy. They'll buy a Chevy Silverado number one, Ford F-150 number two, and then third, a Nissan Altima.
Hmm.
But then within the family area, a Hispanic would pick a Traverse or an Acadia before they would pick a Honda Pilot. As a
Okay.
dealer, my mind would go to, hey, let me get the Honda Pilot. I'm not going to have transmission issues. I'm not going to have, mechanical issues. I'm going to sell them a solid car. But the truth of the matter is the Hispanic is looking for the Traverse, for the Acadia.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's, that as dealers, we buy what's going to give us less of an issue, but the Hispanics are looking for what they want and they're willing to pay, for those items.
Right.
But being and wanting to be Hispanic driven doesn't mean you have to change your name, doesn't mean that you have to do the advertisement that we do. It's all about part of the inventory that you buy, but also the treatment that you give them, when they visit your store.
Right.
Having that one individual that can really communicate and be the mediator, because it is intimidating. I remember, when we first arrived here, in Mexico, people pump gas for you. Well, here it's completely different. So the first time that we tried to do that, we didn't know what to do. We went inside, we paid, we didn't know how to work the pump, so we left. That's embarrassing as that is. We didn't ask anybody because that was embarrassing. So the next time it's like, okay, we're gonna watch somebody see how they did it. And I was 15 at the time. My dad is, hey, go tell him this, and I'm like, hey, Dad, I've been here the same amount of time you have, so my English is not a lot better than yours. So it took a while, so it can be intimidating, walking into places like that. So
right,
it's just like anything, you have to be welcoming.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's great. And by the way, Jonathan, there's totally a future for you in consulting and mentorship and teaching. You're doing it this morning, but I'm just telling you, there's an opportunity. There's so many folks out there who could benefit, and I hope people are listening and can find this broadcast where you've given some really great tips on that part, and I think it just kind of confirms what we typically see. And that is that the Hispanic customer does have special interests and needs. We want to be able to reach that customer, and I would just tell you they're in most markets, and you just are not really succeeding with your marketing and connecting with that consumer. And so that's what we recommend, that you talk to folks like Jonathan out there, and we've got people listening in this morning from Ohio and Tennessee, New Jersey, Florida, South Carolina, although the dealer in South Carolina says they're actually listening from Texas this morning. But yeah, I think in all those markets, all those communities, the Spanish speaking customer is there. And so we just obviously want to find ways to better connect with them and serve that community. And so, yeah, I appreciate you sharing the tips this morning. Michelle, did you have anything to add or ask?
Not really. Just thank you so much for joining. I know Jim and I have talked for a bit about having you come and join us on the morning show, and also how we might be able to entice you to help out a little bit with helping other dealers really reach their Hispanic market. And I really appreciate you coming and doing this, because like Jim said, you really are an asset to this industry and your community and to the market.
Well, I really, really appreciate the invitation. And absolutely, at the end of the day, we are here to help each other, to build each other up. We get up in the morning to do what we can. We get up to provide for our families, to work as hard as we can to be able to serve the communities that we're in. And not because we're a buy here, pay here means that we're less than your typical or your bigger dealerships. We're serving a segment of the community. And we should be very proud of the work that we do every day.
Amen. Yeah, I can see that you are working hard and working smart out there in Fort Worth, Texas. And I just will tell our listeners, we've got a platform. We're going to make mentors available. The invitation is there for Jonathan to start offering mentorship to, to folks out there, if and when you're ready, Jonathan, to provide that kind of mentorship.
You're going to start getting phone calls, Jonathan.
We're going to continue.
No.
In the meantime,
Please
we're going to
reach out
continue
to
to
me.
invite you back to the morning show.
Yeah.
And so again, thanks for making time to talk, and we'll have another chance to chat some morning soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All
Thank you,
right.
you too.
Talk soon. Michelle, you going to stay with me just a
Thanks,
minute? We'll
Jonathan.
sign off.
Yeah, I will.
So anything to add from your end before we cue the music?
Nothing really. I'll be here on Friday to join for a little bit. We do have a special guest on Friday. And
I gotta look
I
at
know
the
that
schedule
you
again.
huh? It's
I got to
Amanda.
look at the schedule again. I think, do we have Amanda?
I think it's Amanda.
It's
Amanda's
Amanda
here.
on Friday. Amanda Sanchez, the illustrious uh, bookkeeper, accountant,
That count.
consultant,
Yeah, don't call her.
advisor,
Yeah, she's not a bookkeeper. She's an accountant.
auditor. Well, she
Extraordinaire.
knows all that stuff. She knows
She
how to
knows
do
all of
all that
that
stuff.
stuff, and
She's going to be here with.
she's kind of been the person of the day since last week, with all of the stuff that Russell posted, and what is today the 15th?
Today is, in fact, the 14th.
The 14th. So tomorrow, happy finishing out your tax quarter
Right.
filing stuff, Amanda. Looking forward to talking to you on Friday, and I'll try to pop in and participate a little bit in that conversation.
Yeah, we'll have Amanda here. For those who know Amanda, know I will have the mute button on. I'll have my finger on the mute button to for any profanity that might slip
Well,
out. So
know,
she's fun.
when we post this, when we post these to the syndicated stations, there's a little checkbox that says explicit content.
Yeah,
We'll just check that.
yeah, we'll be good.
There.
She's just everybody loves Amanda. She's colorful. We'll just say she's colorful, right? So looking forward to having her, and
yeah,
hope Hugo will
I
join
love
too.
it, and she speaks my language.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
she speaks my
Well, very
language.
good. Well, we're
She
gonna
does. So
wrap up
it's
for today, and look forward to having Amanda on Friday. So, and folks, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you joining, and hope you got a lot out of hearing what Jonathan had to share. And we'll hope you listen in on Friday.